From an early age, I was always into everything fast, and back then the internet was very slow and you could only look in magazines, and I managed to pick up a magazine one day, as easy as that, and looked in there and thought, wow, look at these cars from Japan, you know, aero, and they just look fast, and I thought, oh, I really want to get into that. So I brought an Evo off a car yard, drove it home, pulled it apart, and started from there. As much as my love for Mazdas as a child, I've always had a good following of the Mitsubishis, and that's purely just through the rally. Tommy Mäkinen was a big hero of mine when I was a kid, and looking at what everything was happening in Japan and what everybody was doing, it seemed like the Evo was a good platform, and I found this Evo on a car yard for sale. It was a standard car, mud flaps, snow tyres, the whole shebang. I drove it home, and within a week I had modified it. I was looking at what would make it go faster, and it was one thing, then it was the next thing, and then it was super lap, and I got addicted to that, and it just blew up.
Leon's car is a popular CT9A chassis powered by a 4G 63T 4-banger. The engine is a 2.3 litre stroker with a 100mm crank. The fuel system consists of two Bosch 044 fuel pumps pushing E85 through a set of 2000cc injectors. Boost comes from a Haltech turbocharger. The bulk of the fuel system has been moved to the rear of the car to declutter the engine bay and better distribute weight. The entire show is managed by Haltech's Elite 2500 ECU, which controls ignition, injection, boost and traction control, while the gearbox is a 5-speed Quaife sequential.
We went for the 5-speed rather than the 6-speed because running a 2.3 stroker engine, we get to use more of our engine torque power with the 5-speed than having to change all the time on the 6-speed, so that was one thing we decided. We also went with the ATB front diff. We've got full RS rear end with Cusco 1.5 RS diff. We run a UK brand of suspension called INJECTORS, which is remote canister suspension. We run 6-pot endless brake package, the Hankook 29530 Z221Ss.
The cockpit is simple but purposeful. All the wiring comes through a power distribution module to keep things tidy and efficient. Racetech seats and harnesses work together with an 8-point roll cage to keep Leon safe in case of an accident. Keeping things cool is important. That's why Leon fitted an ETS intercooler, a custom alloy radiator with twin fans and twin oil coolers.
One of the most interesting parts about this setup is the fact that we're not dry sump, we still run a wet sump system. Many years ago I worked for a company in New Zealand called Redline Performance for quite some years, and we had the opportunity to have the CT230 in our showroom for a few months, and I studied that like it was an exam. I learnt a lot off that, and what we actually got from HKS in Japan was the information around how they ran their wet sump system. So we copied the wet sump system that they've run in the CT230 in our car, and it's proven to be successful. There are big gains using dry sump, but for us, budget was one thing, and we managed to follow the design of the CT230 so much so that we really never have oil pressure problems. We run a Kigley in the head, which restricts the oil flow, so the head only gets what it needs to, it doesn't get held up, and it's proven to be good. And I've run the vehicle on not only a semi-slick, but a full slick tyre before, and we haven't been getting oil surge, so touch wood, we've been good so far. I think later on in the future we will look at dry sumping, but money only goes so far and we need to put it in the right directions to start with. Cyber Evo was my favorite. Out of all the time attack cars out of Japan, the Cyber Evo definitely was one that I followed a lot. Hence why we went for the Voltex Cyber wide body kit. And the Cyber Evo had an interesting story where it wasn't the most powerful time attack car out of the lot, but it was so well balanced, it was set up so well that the whole package made it fast. I think World Time Attack Challenge, the first time it competed, when it won, it only had 450 horsepower, but it was set up so well that it turned and it stopped and it did everything it was supposed to. And that sort of ticked in my mind that you can do it. You don't have to have 1,000 horsepower with nitrous and everything to be relatively fast. Well, the best moment with the car to date would probably be winning the New Zealand Pro Open Championship in Superlap in 2016. We did it on a very small budget. We did it with very old technology, a very small crew, but we proved to everybody that was also getting into Superlap, that didn't come from a lot of money, that wanted to do it as well, that it is achievable. You can actually do it. You know, if you're dedicated and you just focus, you can actually achieve your goals. And for us, winning the 2016 championship was the beginning of thinking, well, we can do that, we can do more. So we need to progress the car, we need to upgrade the technology, we need to do the differentials, we need to go with the sequential, we need to get up off the play with it everybody else was at the time. So we really needed to move forward with technology in order to keep up with some of the faster cars. There were quite a few faster cars at the time that were also competing. Reliability was big factors for a lot of the teams. We chose to keep the car sort of fast enough to set a good pace and podium at every round, but not so highly strung that it was going to jeopardise being able to do every round. And to win a championship, you have to run every round and you have to aim for the top every time and try and podium every time to get the points together. So we thought, well, if we can keep it reliable for that season and prove that we can do it, then we'll follow and we'll upgrade ECU package, transmission, driveline, diffs, aero, everything else to go with it. I think the biggest goal now for the car would be to beat our personal best here for a start at Hampton Downs. And we've done 107s here with semi-slicks on an H-pattern gearbox. So I think now our goal will be to try and dive under that by at least 2 seconds would be the aim. Once we've proven that we can get into that bracket, 105s, then we would look ultimately at going to Australia and competing in World Time Attack Challenge. I have thought about doing it in the past, many years leading till now. I've been to every one since 2011. Fortunate enough to travel with Mike and a few other people, so I think now we really want to make sure that the car is spot on, we have all our eggs in the right basket, and then we'll go, rather than before opportunities I've had to go before. I didn't think the car was quite up to scratch. You know, the technology and the advancement in the cars in Australia are leagues ahead of us here. The opportunity for them to get there is also easier. So for us, thinking it costs a lot of money to go to Australia and go to World Time Attack. So we want to make sure that we're not going to waste our money. We're going to have the best that we can get from what we've got and then go over and see what we can do.
Leon's philosophy of gradual improvement is not only practical, it has proved to be the most financially viable way of building a competitive car. A great lesson for anyone thinking about getting into time attack racing.
I think the best advice to young kids that are getting into this sort of thing is to think forward. Am I going to end up getting tickets trying to do this on the street? Try and put their money into progressing the car at the local track days rather than paying off fines. I think it's the biggest thing. They've got to get that into their head first, and once they realise that they actually enjoy what they've done and they modify it on their own and they get the satisfaction out of modifying it on their own, then they get the bug and then they want to do the next thing and then they go to the next track day. So I think for the younger generation, guys that are wanting to get into it, local track days is where to start. You talk to so many people that can give you so much inspiration on car setups and it's just asking questions, and people are so helpful, you get pointed in the right direction. And I think that's most important.